church does not recognize the stand from this kind of position.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So initially you are still married to your
First wife.
first wife.
Right.
And unrecognized in the second.
Right.
So I don't know if that's helpful or hurtful.
Well, you realize that the church recognizes as valid marriages Protestants who get married, Hindus who get married. They recognize the validity of those outside of the church as being legitimate marriages. But what we talk about a sacramental marriage is when we have the ceremony within the church as witnessed by a priest, by two Catholics, faithful Catholics, who have been recognized as understanding that this is a sacrament. This is not something you just go to the justice of the peace about. This is why you can't go to the beach to get married, or on a golf course, or in the redwoods, or in the mountains. You have to be in a church, because this is a sacred ceremony. This is the enactment in physical form of the covenant that God has made with his people throughout time. What? How many times have I said that a covenant is like a
Marriage.
Because that's exactly what it is. God is the groom, we are the bride. I mean, we see this replete both in Old Testament as well as New. So when a husband and wife get married in a church, it's in a small way, a reenactment, in a physical, tangible way that we can all see how God relates to us. That's why marriage is indissoluble. It makes perfect sense when you understand the sacramentality of marriage. Marriage is indissoluble because God is not an Indian giver. God has pledged his allegiance to his creation. He is not about to revoke that. Sin notwithstanding. You know what God does when sin entered the picture? He dealt with the sin. He didn't get rid of the contract or the covenant. Once God has made a pledge, it's there for eternity. Period. End of discussion. Now, for us humans, we're mortal. That's why we say this marriage is till when? Death do us part. Okay? But with God, he is deathless. He is all life. There will never be an end to his covenant with his people. This is why both heaven and hell are eternal in nature. They will never end. Purgatory will come to an end because that's a temporal place. But heaven and hell are for eternity. Because once you've made that decision, it's an eternal decision. Are you with me? So this goes right to the heart of what the whole plan of salvation is. Our whole relationship with God is. That's why marriage is, I believe, under so much attack nowadays. Because it is the instrument by which all persons universally can recognize as the covenant-building mark of building a family or a relationship. No matter what primitive society, what the deepest, darkest jungles that have never been discovered yet, and they have humans there, you have marriage of some kind or another. Now, it may be perverted in some ways, like they may have plural wives or things like that, but nevertheless, you still have this idea of building a family by uniting two people, a man and a woman, in this way. And that is the chief analogy of how God operates with us humans from the dawn of time. So if I go missionary work to those people, the one thing I can connect with them with when talking about how God relates to his people is how a man and a woman relate to each other in a marriage. Because it's something that's universally experienced all throughout time. Am I making sense here? Okay? This is why you can't redefine it, and why you can't change it, and why you can't break it with civil law. Civil law is meaningless. That's why the divorced and remarried Catholic is still, and that's why they're in a permanent state of adultery according to the church, because they're still married, and now you're marrying someone else, civilly or otherwise. Doesn't matter. You see that? That's why it's adultery. Okay? So, yes, Robert.
Just one comment. Recall far